Hello everyone, it's Wendemere. This is Bill. We are your Hidden Gems hosts and local tour guides. And as promised, today we are going to answer all of your paddleboarding questions. Well, at least we're going to get you through the first couple.
What we know about paddleboarding. We don't know everything.
Which we have been doing for the past 3 years. The biggest question that we get, is it hard?
And if anybody can do it, if she can do it, anybody can do it.
Wow. Ouch.
Is it not true?
We're going to start there. It is true. I was thrown out of ballet at 7. I was laughed out of aerobics. I tried to do Orange Theory and then COVID happened. I failed all the physical fitness tests, PE. I was like straight A student and a B in PE. So he's not wrong.
Lucky if they gave you a B.
They were kind.
They were generous.
But
so back to paddleboarding.
I can do this. I can do it.
She got up on a paddleboard. We were in what, Key Largo?
At Baker's Key Resort.
She got up on one. She wanted to try it. She got up on one. I was shocked.
It was like, no, we'll do it tomorrow. I was like, I just want to try, and it's free.
And she got up.
And I did it.
And it was an adventure from there.
And then for Christmas, he bought me my first board.
Which is an inflatable.
Which we'll talk about in a minute. Let's talk about tips, though, before we talk about boards. That you can do it, and it's not hard, and it's easy, and it gets easier and easier if you have a little help. And you were really like instrumental in getting me started. So there's a couple of things that you have to really be aware of. The first is weather.
Well, any outdoor water sports, you have to worry about the weather. You don't want to go out on a windy day. You want a nice, calm day, no wind, because when you're standing up on a paddleboard, you become a sail, and it will push you around. We had that today. It was blowing at 13 to 15 knots.
We just got back from Jonathan Dixon, so that's why we're like all set up. So
cleaning up and everything.
See some of the stuff, but I'm a better paddleboarder today than I was 3 years ago, so I was able to handle 13 to 15 knots. When we first started out, there's no way.
She was sitting down and she was getting blown off the board.
At 1 degree, or 1 knot, whatever that is. So you do want to know about the weather. You also need to really understand current. Tell us.
I'm no expert. We go on a lot of different rivers. Some are spring fed, some are tide driven. Like one of the spring fed rivers, Wekiva Spring State Park. We go down with the current, and then we have to paddle back. You have to know what was that?
It's going to take you twice as long to get back, and you just have
at
to be
least twice as long.
You have to be aware that easy going down doesn't mean that it's easy coming up.
Right.
The stronger you become as a paddleboarder, the easier that is.
She can go 5 miles downriver and make it back. So it's granted it's not running at a whole lot of pace, but still you still have to pay attention to that.
So you really want to understand your own physical ability and set yourself up for success. So pick the right location, go on the right day, and you will love doing this.
Go with a group. Go to a store and see if they have demos and try it, and see if you even like it before you go out and spend all kinds of money.
And you don't have to start out standing up. You can get on the board and sit on the board until you feel comfortable kneeling, and then when you are comfortable kneeling and paddling, then go ahead
and stand up.
And
then you're going to fall off, and then you're going to get back on.
And people are going to laugh, as they did.
Yes.
To me several times.
But every time you do it, you get more experience, you get more balance. You know where to stand on the board. That's the biggest thing. I watch people getting up on paddle boards, and they're either standing too far forward or too far back, and they're not stable.
And the first 20 times he keeps yelling at me, "Why are you on the front? Why are you in the back? Get in the middle of the board."
You have to find your balance on the board. Everybody's different. Where my balance spot is not the same as her balance spot. What I like to tell people is kneel on the board, get comfortable, feel like you're balanced, and you can paddle. You're not falling off while you're kneeling, and that's the general location of where you're going to be standing up at.
Okay.
And you'll have a better chance of success doing it that way.
So we are going to move on. Should you rent? Should you buy? If you buy, should it be an inflatable or a hardboard? What about paddles? What about other gear? So let's get into it. Renting.
That's where I think everybody should start out.
I agree.
Rent, or if they have a beginner's class where they take you out and show you the ropes so you get accustomed to it. And then St. Patty's Day is coming up. We're actually going to one of the outfitters over in Tampa and going on the Hillsborough River because they're dyeing it green. Go to an outfitter that has tours. They're more likely to help you than someone that's just selling a board.
Absolutely. So I would say absolutely rent, and then after you rent, if you decide you like it, you still need to make that decision of how often am I going to go? Do I even need to invest in a board? Because we have gone several times where renting was the easier option. It was convenient. You drop right in there. So think about how often do you want to go? Now, one of the downsides to renting is sometimes you're going to go places, and when we went to Arizona, we rented because obviously we had to rent, but we had to have the boards back by 3 o'clock. So there are those limits of
Right.
where is the outfitter, and can you keep it overnight, or do you have to have it back? General cost for renting, what, $20 to $40?
I've seen them as low as 20 and as high as 40.
So call ahead. Pretty reasonable for a first time out.
Sure.
I do have a tip though. When you are renting, because you are not controlling the firmness, most of the time when you're renting, you're going to be renting an inflatable. We had this happen when we paddled Colorado River, Horseshoe Bend.
It wasn't inflated enough, and we didn't realize it until after they dropped us off with the boards, and we had 9 miles to go on not the most inflated
We just
board.
couldn't stand as much as we would have
Right.
if we were
It
controlling.
wasn't as stable.
And that was our fault. It was 5 o'clock in the morning and we weren't paying
Right.
attention to. But test before you take that out, get on it and test it, make sure it's firm. Because a lot of times, even with these inflatables, we'll see people all the time struggling on the board, and he'll say, it's not inflated enough. They're like, oh, we know what we're doing. We watch them fall down. They're not having as good of a time as they would as if this was nice
And firm.
firm.
So
All right, if you want to buy, do you buy an inflatable or do you buy a hardboard? And those of you that have watched us know that we have Surftex. They're in the garage. Those are the hardboards. We started out, this was my Christmas present a couple of years ago. What? 4 years ago. This is a boat, good brand, solid board. I learned on this at Wekiva River. I love this board. We've been a little bit spoiled with our hardboards, but we took these out to Jonathan Dixon to the Lockahachie River, and I was at the point of making a decision, do I no longer want this because I am so attached to my hardboard? But they're convenient. We wouldn't have been able to bring boards, so...
because we were towing a camper, we don't have... Our rack for our hardboards are on our Jeep, and the truck pulls the camper.
So there's a lot to having an inflatable. Talk about setting it up.
It's easy. I mean, you open a bag, you unroll it. I have both manual pumps and electric pumps. I have 2 different brand electric pumps. I have a really good one made by Boat, and then I have one from Body Glove. And
You do get what you pay for.
you get what you pay for. This was an interim item because I had a
We had an inflatable kayak that deflated, and we needed something quick. We went
Right.
to BJ's. We got this for what, 150,
No.
200, 300 bucks, maybe
$300.
I think $299
$2.99.
versus what was my boat, like 800.
$6.99.
Okay, so you do get what you pay for. I would go with the Boat brand. I have watched him on this.
By far, 100% better than that.
But if you have a couple of kids and you don't know,
Right, you
are
don't
they
know-
going to take care of it? Are they going to keep doing it? Do you want to spend this kind of money? So
It,
figure out what their commitment level is before you spend a lot of money.
and they're down to, you can get them now for a couple $100. So
So I would say, even though he's saying it's easy to set up, yes, it is. But then you get off the river, you have to deflate it, then you have to come home, you have
inflate
to
it again,
inflate it,
so you can
wash
clean
it, and then re-roll it. It is more time consuming than you think.
We come home with the hardboards. They come off the rack, they get rinsed off, and they get put away. We don't have to worry about re-inflating them. We don't have to re-wash them, and so
Okay,
forth.
let's stay on the inflatable though. On the inflatable maneuverability, it's a much lighter board. So this was so light and easy to carry, but when you're on the water, you're not going to have the glide and the speed, I would say, as a hardboard.
No, you don't.
I mean, I would say
This is what I call these boards slug boards. They're slow.
so.
They're slow and stable.
But on a windy day, you're not going to get as far down the river as when we're on hardboards.
Right.
So
Maneuverability.
they're easy to store. They're easy to transport. You do not need a roof rack. They are relatively easy to set up. A little bit of time taking it down. But now you have the luxury, if you want to go down to the Keys for the weekend and have your own board.
You throw them in the trunk,
Easy cheesy.
and you have a board, and you're not renting.
And they're less expensive than the harder boards. So we talked about pros, cons, costs, a couple of brands, lots of them out there. Would we do this again? Absolutely. Would I buy the boat again? Absolutely. Would you buy the body glove again?
No, I would not.
Okay.
And I don't know if Body Glove has
A better board.
a better board, but that one from Costco is.
Again, if you have kids, you're not really sure, but if you're an adult,
It was convenient, and that's the only reason why I still have it.
you're more serious,
And I was going to
go
sell
with the
it.
better brand.
I was going to sell it, and
We're keeping it for a spare if the nephews or friends
right.
need a board.
So
All right, so the hardboards, which you've seen us paddle, we both have Surf Techs. I found that Surf Tech. I got to try that Surf Tech, so we went down to Estero River Outfitter. Again, buy from a local source. This we bought from Travel Country. And they were very helpful with everything I needed to know before I left the store. When I bought the hardboard, found the board, thought I would like it, but at Estero River Outfitters, they let you get on it, try it if you want to rent it, if you want to return it and upgrade. Love, love, love that company. So that's where I bought my Surf Tech. And you guys have seen me on that board. That board just glides through the water. A little bit more expensive. So what was that? It was on, we got it on a sale, but it's still like $1,300. So
12 and change.
you're spending a little more. Here's the biggest thing. It's heavier. So the first dozen times me carrying it was a little harder. I can maneuver pretty well now. But what was the biggest issue with that board? We have a 3-bedroom house and we had nowhere to put it.
Oh right, had it living in the living room for a while until I bought a rack to hang it on the garage wall.
So you need to measure.
That's the other thing with your hardboards. You have to have a place to put them. Where these inflatables, they roll up into a backpack, and we put them on a shelf, and that's it. So, but the hardboards, you know, I had to buy the racks, I had to mount it to the garage wall, and put them on the garage.
And we were lucky because we barely even had room in the garage.
And the way my garage is laid out with the electrical panel and things like that, I barely had enough space on the one wall to put it.
And
So-
we've been looking to buy another place, and so the first thing we do, because the boards are coming with us,
Is does the place have a room for the boards? That's the biggest thing.
and he goes with the tape measure, and we're measuring, because believe it or not, a lot of rooms are not long enough, or there's a window in
For a
the way.
12-foot board to put on a wall.
So measure your board and make sure you have a place for the board, and then you have to buy a roof rack.
Right.
And then you have to put the roof rack on the vehicle.
Right.
We bought the roof rack. It was 6 more months to put the roof rack on, right?
You got that. That went on right away.
Okay.
The roof rack went on right away.
Okay, if you say so, love.
Bill came over and put it on with me when I got it.
All right, we will move on.
Yeah.
So
You want to start a fight on video?
Hardboard. So the pro maneuverability, they're faster. I find them more fun. The con, they're a little more expensive.
They're a lot more expensive. There's no.
It's relative.
It's all relative, but
Depends how much money you spend on Starbucks, right?
Right.
So
there you go.
but measure and be sure you have a place to store them. So we both have Surf Tech. We love the Surf Tech brand. Boat makes hardboards, so you could totally get a boat, a hardboard. There are a lot
There was a toss up between a boat and a Surf Tech hardboard for myself, and the Surf Tech won out because Surf Tech had what was it, a Labor Day special, free shipping and 10 or 15% off.
Yeah, no regrets on either my
boards.
boat or my Surf Tech. All right, let's get to paddles, because this is something that right out of the gate you were like, I'm getting a carbon.
I had a
paddle.
carbon fiber paddle.
I had the one that came with the boat. Decent paddle,
but
but
the carbon. I was going through some where we
light. Slug. Light.
with the carbon fiber. They are, I don't want to say delicate, but you can break them very easily.
He's broke 2 so far,
I broke one.
and bent one.
Right. I bent an aluminum one and I broke the carbon fiber. But I was also going through a part on the river that
That he should have felt.
It was right. It was after a big storm, a lot of hidden trees that had fallen into the river. My fin got caught on something. I fell, and I landed on the paddle, and I broke the carbon fiber paddle. So you just have to be aware. That's all.
But on the other hand, I mean, this paddle, this goes with my Surf Tech. It is so
It's
light.
feather light.
It is so easy to paddle, and if you're paddling for an hour or two, not a big deal. But when you're going, sometimes we go 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 hours.
We're on the river.
You
so.
will feel this, and you will be glad you had this.
We're
So
about
much.
7 hours.
We have gone all day long. What are you talking
We've
about?
done 5 hours, not 7.
All right, whatever. Super, super light.
And aluminum, believe it or not, heavy. It's a 3-piece paddle, and it's just heavy.
Love my paddle. Now, as far as price,
This replacement for this is about $60. Replacement for this is $200, but it's also feather light.
so personal preference.
It's all relative. How much you want to spend.
The one I used for the boat was fine to get me started, but now I don't go anywhere without my carbon fiber. And even for our trip for Hawaii, I found a place where we can rent the carbon fiber paddle, because when we were out in Arizona, and we did do all day on the river.
Right, we had fiberglass paddles, which was
awful, awful, awful.
But they're commercial fiberglass paddles that were very heavy. So
All right.
fat people like me don't break them.
So you have to have one of these. This is law in Florida.
And a whistle.
So life jacket and a whistle, and then you are good to go. Want a dry bag maybe? We also have an anchor. We don't use the anchor as much as I thought we did. We usually use paracord.
Well, we used to use the anchor when we had the kayak.
Right. We use paracord to tie off.
So I carry some paracord I tie off to a tree or whatever.
I hope we have inspired you to at least get out, rent one, try it, get on the river, paddle. And in our next video coming up, we are going to talk about all the places to go paddle. Thank you so much for watching.
Bye.
Love you, dear.